Now, you'll notice that at the end of every video is a scrolling list of things to know from the video. You should know that this course has many lectures. I know because I made them all and it's been extensive. I've tried to edit them and bring in examples and cutaway videos to make the video as interesting as humanly or I could make possible. But you should know there's lots of videos to this course. It's a pretty heavy lecture course. And my goal during the lecture is to bring in lots of examples and to try and take the phenomenon of art apart and give you examples so that you can understand it. You can also see the various ways that artists have used these ideas, these philosophies, to make art and to think about art. I want to give you as many examples as possible. Now, for the student who's taking the class, sometimes your question to yourself is, what do I have to know? What do I need to know to pass this class? Now, also know my goal is different than yours because my goal, what I want to do is put a spotlight on all of the amazing ways that we can think about art. So I know there are lots of videos, and what I ask you to do is to pace yourself and to not try and consume 20, 30 videos in one sitting, but just to do kind of one at a time and give yourself time to think about the video. Watch it again if it's too confusing or you don't get the subject. And what I've tried to do with the videos is I've tried to make them short. So I think the longest video is possibly 20 minutes long, but most of the time I try to keep them somewhere in some sweet range of 7 minutes. Yeah. So pace yourself and try not to skip or fast forward through material to get to the end of it. Really focus and give yourself that opportunity to think and to digest and to ponder. Yeah, to focus and sit in the information and to find as many possible connections as possible. Now, I feel that if you're successful at this course, you're going to gain a knowledge of art that will make you an expert and ground your beliefs in the realm of some of the understanding of the scholars of art theory and art philosophy. Yeah, so I find that those in the world that really understand aesthetics are further ahead because they really understand what a work of art is. Now, during the semester, I'm reformatting the tests and the quizzes and the assessment mechanisms for this course. I've kind of found that the course, as we move the course online, I need to find a different way other than just simply a test on the material to see how well you've watched the videos, how you've processed the information, and to develop your way of using the information to explore works of art. Okay, so I will be asking you to do some writing during this course and to provide examples of works of art that inspire you and that reflect the principles we're studying. Now, also during the lecture, there are going to be numerous what I call art encounters. And this is an opportunity. Usually, probably each module might have 1 or 2 art encounters. Yeah. I think that this is an opportunity for me to show you an original work of art, often a visual work because it's something like these behind me where I can say, look at this work of art. Here's a work of art. And I can show you an original piece from my collection of art, and you can use it to explore, we will use it to explore the philosophies and ideas of the current lecture, the current chapter, this current module. Yeah. So you should pay attention to how I take a work of art and look at philosophy and look at the work of art through the lens of philosophy, because often there'll be an assignment that you're given to do the same thing. So to choose a work of your choosing and show how that it reflects um, the philosophical ideas we're studying. So let's start with this question. Why this class? Why aesthetics? Okay, this is something I've pondered a lot. Now, aesthetics means more than just what are the beautiful elements of something. You know, sometimes we say that everything has an aesthetic, you know, and we have aesthetic likes and dislikes. But aesthetics is really a branch of philosophy, and it deals with art, it deals with beauty, and it deals with the phenomenon of what is a work of art and why do works of art exist in this human world of ours. Now, many of us envision ourselves as artists, and we surround ourselves, as you can see from these works behind me, we surround ourselves with art, and we spend our lifetime making art and collecting art. Now, humans are unique because we collect artworks, and we make museums, we create theaters to showcase and to house art, and to preserve art. So art is important to us. And art is even a huge part of our global economy. So art is something that makes the world make sense, but it also that makes the world function, you know, even monetarily. Now, all of my mentors, the great artists that I find that have trained me as an artist, they were highly interested in aesthetics, in these philosophies. So part of my goal is now to pass that information that I've garnered from my mentors, and also I've garnered from the books that I've read towards you, so that you can then take this information and take these philosophies of art and this deep understanding of aesthetics. So, aesthetics is philosophy, and like philosophy, it starts with questions. So, let me get a bit personal about a question. And even what fascinated me initially about the branch of philosophy, which is aesthetics, and which is this understanding of art. So there was a point in my life where I had to tell my parents that I was not going to be the engineer that they thought and hoped that I would become. You know, I went to college and my major was engineering. I was also dancing at the time, and I had done a lot of musical theater, and I had done a lot of theatrical plays. So I always had this art component to me. I also was a visual artist, so I drew. Probably have done that the longest. But there was a point where I talked to my parents and I said, I'm changing my major. I'm changing from engineering to dance. And dance being my real passion. And this was a critical moment in my life. And my father at the time said, well, you know, we support you in your decisions, but we wonder if you're making the best economical choice and the best economical decision. And he felt that as an engineer, I would be more guaranteed a promising economical future, a better job. And he also felt that possibly I could make more of a difference in the world as an engineer than I could as an artist. Now, in my heart here, I knew he was wrong. But I really didn't know how to answer him and how to really talk to him and convince him that art was equally, if not more valuable and necessary to the world. So my father, you know, great man, but he didn't have that strong understanding or background or appreciation of the arts. And so I realized at this moment, from my connection to him, who I cared about, that I needed to have a deeper and knowledge of art and what art was. And I needed to be able to convince him. And later I realized I needed to be able to convince others that what was in my heart and why art is so valuable to us as humans. And so this began my investigation, this began my reading on art, and my paying attention to all things that were art. Now, T.S. Eliot said that he made a statement and he said, there's really no method except to be very intelligent. And I so agree with this idea. As an artist, you need to be smart. You have to be knowledgeable about your art, and that knowledge will ground you and it will guide you and it will help inform the world about art. So, art is philosophical, and aesthetics is a branch of philosophy. And this philosophy is the approach that we're going to take in this class. Now, this might be a little bit of a unique approach because most of the time, for most of you, what you've studied as artists has been a historical approach where we look at individual artists and art movements and how they coincide with periods of world history. So this is going to be different, and I hope this is going to be fascinating to you to look at art through a different lens and in a different way. Now, most of art is a question. Yeah. For the artist, it often begins more with a question than a statement. And even at the very beginning of an art process, if we ask, what is a painting? Well, it began with a blank canvas. And that blank canvas could be anything. So this is the question that artists often grapple with when they're given that opportunity. Yeah, what do I make? How do I design this? What will it be in this empty space? What will it represent? Yeah, and most art begins with an empty space. So if we look at these two photos behind me, these are two really classic photos, Martha Graham and Martha and Eric Hawkins. Now, these began with someone looking through a camera and composing a photo. Yeah. And when it was printed on a blank sheet of photo paper. So these began with a blank sheet of paper and empty space. And that space could have been anything, but then through the artist, it ended up being this thing. Yeah. And they could choose anything. This photographer could choose anything to photograph. A painter could choose anything to represent or to paint, or even make it an abstract. They could also choose what is the medium. Here we had photography, but this could have been a painting, and it even could have been a dance, and that would use a different empty space, a space that is actually physical space. These become a window into anywhere. And again, that first question the artist often thinks about is, what do I put into this empty space? How do I corrupt the purity and the potential of the nothingness? How do I change that space? And what will that ultimately mean? Because once something is created, we look at it and we see meaning in it. Even if it is just a simple color or an abstract painting, that has a kind of meaning that we'll explore. And that also has a kind of feeling to it. Now, a choreographer thinks in the same way. They too start with an empty space. A scenic designer, same thing. But a scenic designer might be given the context. Like a scenic designer might know, I have to design the set or the lighting, if they're a lighting designer, for Romeo and Juliet. A costume designer might think about the costumes. Like, what do Romeo and Juliet wear? How do I let people know that this is Romeo, this is Juliet? Yeah. What fabrics will I use, and how do the fabrics move? What period? Because often the clothes that we wear tell us about what period of time we're looking at. and that when is the play set? So these are all amazing kinds of questions. And once we create something in these spaces, once we answer these questions, we then grapple with the idea, should this thing that we've made be saved? Yeah, you can see that these photos, these are both photos from 1940. So, actually 1938 to 1940. So you're looking at these two photos from that period of time. But we grapple with the question, should it be saved? Obviously, these are, and they're hung with honor in a specific place, being my house. And how do we save them? How do we curate them? How do we honor and preserve them? And how does it change us when we look at these works of art? And how does it possibly change the way we look at everything? Now, this is one of the most powerful things about art, and the powerful elements about art is that some works of art, the great works of art, they change the way we look at everything else once we see them. And they even change us. So that is quite a powerful thing, and that's quite a special thing that we will explore about art. So this course is going to hopefully give you and let you see the interconnectedness of the arts. And our goal is to find multiple ways to look at art. And I hope that at the end, you will understand these 10 modules, these 10 ways of looking, and you'll be able to look through those lenses, through those windows, and in those ways at what is a work of art. We'll also look at looking at art in the first and second function, looking at art as an act of creation. What does it mean to create something? Looking at art as expression, looking at art as a language system, looking at art as postmodern or post-structural. And we'll even look at the question, when we have a work of art, what is its value? What are its possible values of the work of art? And even the fundamental question, what does it mean to be an artist? Now, I'm going to try and show you as many examples from many areas and many genres of art. Because again, to understand any single art form, you have to look at all of the arts that surround it. And I've found that the best artists of the world, the most famous, the most known, the most significant artists, they understood all of the arts, and they were passionate about not just one art. They had an appreciation and a love and wanted to discuss all of the arts. Now, another fun part of this class is the making assignments. So in the dance office at UNLV, you'll pick up a Ziploc bag, and in that bag will be some supplies, and there'll be some things like some paper, some yarn, some knitting needles, some other things. And from time to time, we'll do some assignments where you will make something. And my goal of these projects is to get you to understand the process of making art, taking raw materials, transforming them, and then creating forms that possibly are symbolic and have meaning and feeling and idea within them. Yeah. So it's not so much for me about how well you will do these crafty things. Some people from this class have left this class with a love of knitting, and then they continue to do it after the class. So if that happens, that's great. But also, the main thing for me is that you participate and you explore, what does it mean to create? Yeah. Now, one final thing to say, because I know I'm getting close to that 20-minute period here for this lecture, is I'll try to present multiple ideas and multiple ways of looking at art. I will even present philosophers that contradict each other. and with regards to what they think about art. Now, one of the things we like about art is that it is a little bit of an unanswerable question. It allows us to think many things about art, not just one thing. Yeah. And at the beginning of this course, I always say that you'll probably see my biases about the ideas, what things that have worked for me as an artist and that I believe in and my mentors have believed in. And I always apologize at the beginning for my biases and say that as young artists, one of the things you have to do is understand why your teachers and your mentors believe the things they do about art. Now, the goal of this is that once you see what your teachers believe about art, then you can form your own opinions and your own deep aesthetic beliefs about art. So we want to look at all of the ideas, and I want you to be the decider about what you ultimately believe in, what helps ground you, and what philosophically informs your artworks and your practice of art, and how you'll use these ideas to make art. That's the most important thing for me, is about you. So when we're through this course, you'll also have that understanding of the world of aesthetics and the world of art. I think you'll be further along because the things that you fundamentally believe, you'll know, oh my gosh, that I get that idea has been around from the time of Socrates or Plato or Thomas Aquinas or Clive Bell, that you will have philosophers that can back up your deep beliefs about art. Okay, so now we're ready for assignment number 1 in Web Campus, the blank sheet of paper. Welcome to this class, Dance 369, the aesthetics of dance, and I hope you like these materials as much as I do.